Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's presentation of the Danalto deal opportunity. I'm delighted to see lots of familiar names in a very heavily registered webinar and for the Danalto opportunity. Lots of familiar names and faces, but just for those of you who don't know me, my name is Gary McCarthy, and I head up the Spark private part of the for those that are entirely new to Spark venture funding, Spark has been around since 2018, raising money for small firms, startups in the venture space, the small private asset space. We do typically 15 to 20 deals a year, and I think that's only the sort of the tip of the iceberg in terms of our approach. If truth be told, for each Danalto that we present to you, we're probably turning down 9 or 10 other companies who are looking to raise either scale-up funds or growth funds for their progress. So that's the sort of I suppose, a hint at our due diligence. And certainly in the case of Danalto, you might be able to do your sums there and work out that we're trying to look at the top decile of opportunities. But I think when we come to Danalto, I don't think I'm slipping into hyperbole to say that this is really almost a top percentile opportunity. We really don't see too many of these. For me, I think it's the 3 T's that jump out at me straight away for Danalto. The track record, there's deep technology involved, and there's validation, there's traction in the market. So track record, technology, and traction really resonate with us and our investors, because we're delighted to see that already the funding goal for Danalto has been smashed. We've gone through the 600,000 mark very quickly. But just returning to actually what Danalto does, it's in the real-time location service space. Better way of putting it, or sorry, for the layman like myself, it's really like a GPS or a Waze for indoor navigation in what I would call inside high-value infrastructure facilities. So it's about keeping track of high-value people or the assets in those facilities. But as I said, it's a really top quality opportunity. We're delighted to be able to show it to our Spark investors. It is a 35% EIIS qualifying a deal. So for every €1,000 that you put into invest in Danalto, you actually would be getting €350 back. So your net investment is €650. Before I introduce the team, just a few quick piece of housekeeping. There will be time at the end for Q&A, probably about 10 minutes. The team themselves will keep their presentation to around 15 minutes. We'd like to get wrapped up in about 35 minutes. But just at the bottom of your screens, please do not go into the chat tab to raise your questions. Go to the more with the 3 buttons, if that's what's presenting on your screen, the 3 circles with more. If you click on that, it'll give you an option to go into Q&A, and then myself and Fergal will relay those questions into the team, as I said, at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'm delighted that Kieran Connell is here with us. He's the executive chair of Danalto, an engineer right through to the very bones of its existence. He's a founder, co-founder in Danalto, a huge experience, international experience, both in the US, France, in the main with Motorola, before he went into the entrepreneurial side of his career. But really, Kieran is a real guru in the ultra wideband space, which you'll find is quite relevant, very relevant later on in the presentation. And obviously, Kieran is also had huge success in this space before on the hardware side with a $400 million exit, which I'm sure he will tell you a little bit more later on. We're also delighted to have David McDonald, president of Danalto, the chief technology officer and co-founder, and again, a huge experience in the technology associated with Danalto. And then finally, Dimitri Tintakakis is with us as head of business development, hugely involved through his own startup career, has got to know the whole network space very well, and also healthcare, which is the focus of the initial, I suppose, the focus vertical for Danalto. So if I could ask the guys, the Danalto team, to switch on their cameras, and put up the slides. We will return to in about 15 minutes for Q&A. Thanks very much, guys. So go ahead, Kieran and Dimitri.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Hi, I'm Kieran Connell. I was the CEO and co-founder of Decawave. I'm privileged to be the executive chairman of Danalto. Danalto delivers the vision that Decawave had set up, namely leveraging existing Wi-Fi access points infrastructure to deliver indoor location, indoor tracking, indoor navigation, indoor association of things and people. That can only be done via ultra-wideband, as long as ultra-wideband is in your mobile phone and in your access point, which it is now. But the complexity of intelligence that has to go into a phone and into an access point and in the cloud to realize it is what is unique about Danalto. So again, Danalto delivers on that vision, leveraging the hardware that we developed. Dave?
Thanks, Kieran. My name is David McDonald. I'm one of the co-founders and president of Danalto. Danalto, we're based in Dublin with our R&D team and operations team with business out of Toulouse. We're 14 personnel. Right now, our mission is to deliver scaled indoor location services aligned to the IT services stack. So we're a software company. It's distributed software. It's deployed in the network and also in the cloud. We're a hardware agnostic company, and we are very focused on really maximizing the system capability of ultra-wideband radios that Decawave and others have pioneered over many years. We have received funding to date from the top tier of investors in Ireland here, Elkstone, Atlantic Bridge, and Enterprise Ireland are on our cap table. And the team that we've built come from these companies, from Decawave, Corvo, right through to Intune Networks, where I was the GM and VP of product. Dimitri?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dimitri Tintakakis, head of business development. It's a pleasure to be here. So we have many verticals that we feel we can significantly contribute in. We have decided to go after healthcare as a priority. So tracking of personnel and equipment is a must-have for hospitals and clinics. So we're talking specifically about acute care facilities, emergency departments, intensive care units. Nurses today, they lose anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes every 12-hour shift searching for misplaced critical medical equipment such as ventilators and infusion pumps. A facility can have up to 10 to 20% of their mobile assets that go permanently are lost and stolen during their lifetime. And this, can with respect to what this costs, it's about $4,000 per item. So it leads to them having to overstock. It leads to them having to pay a premium on emergency rentals. This cost and time saving with perspective to that, a precise asset tracking, as I mentioned, of personnel and of assets, can allow to reduce that search time and that asset loss, and essentially render the ROI measurable in months instead of years. Beyond asset tracking, facilities are now, it's becoming mandatory for them to actually meet compliance requirements in other areas such as patient and staff safety and data auditing, as well as clinical workflows. David, back to you.
So at Danalto, what we have built is a platform, Cardinal AI, that is deployed to really drive the AI-driven enterprise from a spatial intelligence perspective. So some of the key achievements and validation points that we have achieved to date. So the first thing is this is deep technology. It's software-based, but it sits on top of the radio layer. So we've been developing this technology for a number of years, and that is developed but continues to be developed and refined. We have a roadmap defined right out to the end of 2028 to build on the tracking and navigation capabilities and infrastructure build out that we've already achieved. We have a patent filed already, and we have 4 patents currently in preparation, in addition to a further 25 pieces of individual IP that is treated on a quarterly and bi-quarterly basis within the business. To date, we have raised 12 million in 2 different types. One, just north of 5 million in equity from the investors and from leading institutional investors. We have also significant leverage into public contracts that we have built on top of to the tune of 7 million. This is across various organizations, such as the European Innovation and Technology Organization, have received multiple contracts from the European Space Agency over the last number of years. And we've very recently just signed a DTIF project at Christmas of this year, just north of 1 million. We previously also concluded that DTIF project back in 2020, 2021 as well. In addition to this, we have a further EIC project in our pipeline, which is coming through tail end of 26 into 27 as well, which will significantly add to that non-dilutive pool that will build the capital base in which we're building our technology. Dimitri?
Okay, so why now? Ultra wideband is now on every mobile phone, albeit for linking things. Apple put it on its mobile phone to actually take on Tile. Ultra wideband is now going into every wireless LAN access point, so that for the deployment of Wi-Fi 7, so that each access point can actually self-reference. Once that ultra wideband technology is in both ends of the network, Danalto can actually do its magic. So the best way of looking at Danalto is to ultra wideband as Waze is to GPS. Waze and GPS only work outdoors. Danalto gives you all of that indoors. Dave?
So Danalto works and deploys its technology within the access points and into the cloud. We can also deploy our software on premises in local servers or actually into the access point themselves. The access point you have to visualize as a satellite for indoors. So similar to the GPS that's used outdoors, there's 110 satellites out there. The indoor capability is harnessed on those satellites, aka the access point, to give a reference point for indoor tracking and navigation. Just some numbers, there's something close to 7 billion access points deployed across the planet from the enterprise through to the residential side. Another key thing here is edge computing and the drive towards an AI future. And this is where spatial computing, which is being upped from a compute power perspective at the edge significantly. This is something that's in our roadmap as well. Dimitri?
Yeah, so the timing is great for the healthcare location services market. Today, this is a $4 billion sized market. It's expected to grow to 18 billion by 2035. Our go-to-market strategy is to license our software to healthcare technology service providers. And so we are enabling them to get their UWB offering ready to market and helping them address gaps and use cases. We have, with respect to other customers that we're targeting today, we are also aiming to license our technology to Wi-Fi access point vendors and silicon manufacturers. Okay, and the business model is a SaaS-based recurring royalties type of model that will begin in 2027. The revenue that we are expecting to grow will go to 3.5 million ARR, so recurring revenue in 2029. And Dave, back to you.
So in the market today, you have a number of different players that operate in the real-time location space or the navigation space or the sensing space. One of the key gaps that we've identified from a competitive leverage perspective, competitive advantage perspective, is that no company holistically captures all of these 5 components into one platform. And this is where our Cardinal AI platform comes in. So real-time location is where, as I mentioned, these satellites, we infer the location of an asset or a person on the basis of triangulation to a satellite. It's quite complex in terms of the mathematics behind it, but that then allows us to leverage that capability for navigation, as well as which the radios, the ultra-wideband radios that Decawave and others have developed and pioneered, also allows people sensing through radar capabilities. This is something that is in our wheelhouse as well, and which we are marshalling in conjunction with these other capabilities, including analytics and overall protection for people and assets within a robotic or humanoid future world as well. So this product and technology mode is unique and is underserved and not served in the market today. Kieran?
Okay, so we are raising a 3 million round. And what will that 3 million round entail? And actually, what will it return to the investor? That 3 million euros will be enough for us to be profitable, to deliver on the healthcare vertical, and to realize a 13 million euro ARR in 5 years, i.e. in 2031. That gives you a valuation of the company in 5 years of 130 million. Right? So the post-series valuation of this round is 13 million. And again, within 5 years, we will have multiplied that by 10, multiply the value of the company to be 130 million. So 10x return in 5 years. Strong revenue traction based on existing revenue and on what we plan on shipping next year. We have top institutional investors who have followed their money. I'm referring to Atlantic Bridge, Elkstone, and of course Enterprise Ireland. It's a huge and growing market. Every mobile phone, every access point. There is of course EIS tax rebate to the tune of 35%. And again, as long as we're not taken out between now and 5 years, we're targeting a 10x return. So this is a great opportunity to come in. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. That's great. I'm going to kick off with a couple of early numbers questions. First off, just in terms of the funding, how much of the money raised to date has come from the founders?
Okay, so I am technically not really one of the founders because I come in as an executive chairman, albeit 4 or 5 years ago. The founders were basically Dave, Albert, and Tom. I've put in 50 grand of my own money on this round. The core founders themselves have actually they've worked tirelessly for many years at very low salaries. But other than that, Dave?
Just to give you a perspective, like the last number of years, particularly the early years, there's a lot of sweat equity put into the business, all right, really to get it moving, particularly through 18, 19, 20. But direct funding, most of that has taken the form of sweat equity and deferred salaries.
Perfect. Yeah, so just a question regarding some of the customers there. If the focus is healthcare, do you have existing customers or partners in the healthcare space? If so, what are you tracking and what geographies are you successfully implementing in?
Yes, we are currently in confidential discussions today with, as I was mentioning, healthcare service providers, as well as Wi-Fi access point vendors and silicon manufacturers. So all three of those types of customers. We are today prioritizing the European and the North American markets. Okay, we're a small team, so we need to be very strategic about this, and that's where we're focusing on for the time being.
I mean, obviously, clearly, it's nice to leave something on the table for somebody else, which brings us back to a comment from you, Kieran, that was picked up by one of the investors saying, you said, as long as we are not taken out within the first 5 years. Can you? I think there was, the tone of the query was, what could be the implications of that to investors in terms of it being earlier? But I mean, it's still it's a good problem. But if you can just clarify what that actually meant as a comment.
Yeah, in fact, Elkstone almost took me to task on that as well. that they actually view that as one of the risks of the company, that the silicon players, either Qorvo or NXP or Qualcomm, or the access point people, or the healthcare vertical guys, would move to take us out before we wanted to be taken out. Ideally, we would get it to the point of revenue where the 10x multiple is a very, very attractive number. Now, Elkstone agree with me that that's the risk, that we could be taken out beforehand. We all agree that we own the company and the decision rests with us. So it's a first world problem to have, right?
Absolutely. Fergal, do you want to take the next one there?
Yeah, I have a question just on the DTIF funding. So I'm guessing that because DTIF funding has to be matched, you're looking to raise 1.1 million. Is that correct?
That is correct, Fergal, across the whole duration of the DTIF project itself, which is a north of 24-month project. And there hasn't been a lot of public announcements around that project to date. There will be, but that is in collaboration with Qorvo, who are the company that acquired Degawave, and University College Cork. But that is correct.
Yeah, and that's going to expose more and more of our technology to Qorvo, along with our AI offering, etc. The DTIF project is directly in sync with our core needs over the next 3 years. In other words, it's actually delivering on our technology roadmap, as it is for Qorvo for their roadmap. And they will then get an insight into what we're doing with actually radar. So it's an extremely beneficial program.
That project, just to say, is in the healthcare sector, just so that the attendees understand that.
And it's particularly significant even to mention Qorvo, because for some of us who don't have the history books right beside us, I will remind you that actually Kieran's company Decawave was purchased by Qorvo for $400 million. So Qorvo being in the ecosystem here as well, the familiarity is also a helpful thing, particularly with the healthcare focus. And then just returning to the funding, there was a question associated with that DTIF matching or whatever. Just to be clear, the funding target now, if you look at the campaign page, is saying 130%, oversubscribed, overfunded. But there is room to increase that, as in the company will take on more equity. Is that correct, Kieran? David,
that's absolutely correct.
Okay. Excellent. I have a question just here. This popped up on hardware. So, is Danalto purely a software business, or is there a hardware component to the offering?
Okay, it's a great question. What we want to be and what we are is a SaaS company. Any SaaS company getting started that has to dabble or play in hardware. So we did do hardware for a while, and if you take the location of people in a hospital, the partner that we're talking with has sort of said, well, they don't want the doctor or patient to be wearing a tag per se. They want it to be on his employee badge. So we will facilitate that by actually licensing the hardware design. We will still be, in inverted commas, forced to be involved in hardware in the short term, but only so as to facilitate our partners to get launched. Now, there are other partners like basically Qorvo and like the access point people who don't need any hardware involvement whatsoever. It's all software. But we will be involved in hardware to bootstrap some of our customers.
I mean, just go back to the go-to-market plan per se. You mentioned that it would be healthcare service providers as such. If you just want to sort of expand on that in terms of the types of companies they would be, and then I suppose more pertinently, what is the USP? What's the better than what's out there edge that Danalto delivers for those providers, those distributors when they're going to healthcare facility managers? What is their line?
Gary, I just wanted to note that you're the first one to give us a double-barreled question. But over to Dimitri.
Do forgive me.
So as I was mentioning healthcare technology service providers, we also refer to them as real-time location service companies. So they are technology providers to the end customers who will be the healthcare facilities. And they'll provide an offering that covers many applications. I mentioned some of them: asset tracking of equipment. There's safety-related applications with respect to patients and with respect to staff, measuring, patient flow, infant protection. There's really a handful of use cases that they've been able to define with the end customers because, they have built that domain expertise. What we are doing is we're bringing our expertise in networking, signal processing, and AI to help them handle complex environments. Okay, a healthcare facility is large, is very difficult to manage the quantity of people, of assets that are moving on a daily basis. Our technology is tailored to be scaled, okay, and to be performant at scale, thanks to our expertise. So we're enabling them to address, as I mentioned before, there's going to be new use cases that they can't necessarily address with the existing technologies they're using, which will be more Wi-Fi based, Bluetooth, other technologies such as ultrasound, infrared. With UWB and with our systems level networking expertise, we open up a lot of opportunities for them.
Fergal, over to you.
Perfect. Yeah. So just regarding your competitors, who are your competitors in the space? If you could just give us a quick idea of what they're providing and what your USP is.
Yeah. People used to hate it when we were doing Decawave, and I said that we had no competition because it was really tough technology to take on. And I understand the limitations of that answer. I mean, I've done an MBA like everybody else. But this is a tough ask as well that actually Danalto is doing. And there's very few people who have the skills to walk across the actual knowledge of all of the radios, knowledge of all of the networks, knowledge of AI, knowledge of systems that Danalto have. So we are first out of the box. Some of the existing access point guys like Cisco are trying to do it themselves, but it's difficult. So Dave, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I'd say most of the competition, you'll find it in specific pockets, Fergal, to date, not in a holistic manner. Again, the radios, as you would find in an access point, they're very highly functional radios. They're not single purpose, not single modal per se. So remember, we're actually tracking, we're navigating, we're sensing, we're building out that infrastructure in a cohesive and orchestrated manner. So our unique proposition is having a single Cardinal AI platform that actually is a resource manager for those radios that gives you the reliability in these highly cluttered, complex environment as you would find in CHI or other large care facilities, all right, with lots of people, and you're looking for precisions less than the thickness of a wall. That's what you need to do to know whether a patient is on this side of the wall or on the other side of the wall, or for example, an inmate is on one side of the wall or another. This is the type of thing that's critical for many of the use cases that are underserved today because the technology that has been deployed to date cannot be used to facilitate that precision and that accuracy. So, Wi-Fi, BLE are being used currently, but that generally is only functional for room level presence type activities, not for, in centimeter type precision use cases.
Just coming back to one of the challenges around tracking staff, it was around the constraints under GDPR on location data as personal data. Does it come up, and what's the answer?
Yeah. So when we launched the ultra wideband technology as well, that was a big concern. And Apple's approach to all of this is that you opt in, right? You don't have to enable the actual Find My This on your phone, or you do have to enable it. It's not automatically enabled, right? So it is in its definition an opt-in technology. It wouldn't go anywhere if it didn't respect GDPR. If you'll pardon the pun, it wouldn't go anywhere.
Can I just add on that on just navigation is privacy by design, because that's a listen only function. So it terminates on the phone. So there's no vestige of information in the infrastructure side at all. This is a requirement for Apple, for Google, for the handset providers. In terms of our platform, it's an enterprise-grade platform, so it's within the enterprise. So this is a decision of the enterprise in terms of how it manages that sensitive location information. And the next thing is, from our platform perspective, it's all anonymous based. In other words, all we can see on our platform are actually just MAC addresses, okay, OUIs as such. And then how they're associated to an asset or a person, that's actually on the enterprise side of the platform, in terms of how they bind that information to a person, for example.
Sorry, we're going to just go into the quick fire round now. I'm just conscious of time. Just for the investors that are on the call here, if any of your questions don't actually get asked, because we've actually a very large number of people on the call, there are a lot of questions, but they will be dealt with on an individual basis by email. But just on the quick fire stuff, the valuation of the company in this round is 10 million. What's the maximum amount of equity that's potentially on offer there? I mean, obviously it's 600,000 or 6%, but is there, what's the ceiling on that at the moment in your thinking?
Okay, so the actual pre-round valuation is 10, right? And we are raising 3, so the post-money valuation is 13. That gets us to profitability, that gets us to deliver on the actual healthcare vertical. There are other verticals. If we had an opportunity to take in more money, we would do it. Gary,
excellent.
are you? Yeah, okay.
Just a question there as well on just on the actual technology. Does it interfere with the equipment in the hospitals? You know, the MRI scanners. You know, will this effectively affect them in any way?
Oh, so just Kieran,
Go ahead.
yeah. So ultra wideband, just so you know, it uses very, very small pulses, very, very short, like nanosecond pulses. And the power level is constrained to actually sit in the noise of these other radio systems. So it operates in the noise. It's very complex in terms of how the signal is recovered here, but it's very precise. So no, it's non-interfering, and it's regulated by the FCC and the other CE regulatory bodies throughout the world. And it's licensed in a number of different bands for this purpose, irrespective of the application.
It is a standard technology, Wi-Fi ultra wideband regulated. It is not a proprietary. That question was very, very good. Is more germane to a proprietary technology, so no issue.
Excellent. And just coming to the final kind of question now, in terms of adoption, is this a self-service platform, or do you need to send, you know, resources, human resources on the ground to get it set up, or have you resellers, partners, or, you know, subcontractors that will help get you to market faster?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the go-to-market strategy for us is to license our software, distributed software technology. This will be an accelerator for us, meaning that yes, we will work with our partners to get the solution ready to launch, but they will do the heavy lifting, right? They will handle everything from marketing to the actual sale of that offering to their customers. And then with respect to the deployment as well, they can handle this. And we will, you know, obviously have a supporting role with respect to deployment and maintenance of that software, updates, etc.
Perfect. Brilliant. Gary, do you want to finish on a final question?
On the sensitivity, is that the question?
No, let me see if there's any. There is, oh yes, in terms of the exit strategy. So what's the going back to the kind of the time frame again? I know you mentioned 5 years, and there may be a potential, but who would you consider as the potential acquirer? Would it be the likes of Cisco's? Would it be Curvo again? Maybe, you know, who's on your radar?
There's a golden rule almost in the actual chip industry. All chip companies want to get into selling software, right? There's just not enough money in pure silicon, with the exception of NVIDIA, obviously, right? So everybody else wants to get into selling software. But that's a hard gig to do, because a lot of the software that chip companies do are essentially drivers, whereas this is a complete system. So definitely the actual silicon guys, and we are silicon agnostic. We work with either Qorvo silicon, NXP silicon, Qualcomm silicon, or any of the Chinese. There's about 20 ultra wideband suppliers now. They will all want to actually have this sort of software offering. So will the access point guys. So will the people who actually sell to the Philips Healthcare or the Securitas of the world. They will need access to it. So there are many different avenues that we could go in. And then in that 5-year time, even before it, we are profitable, which, you know, back to the original dream of Decawave, we could IPO.
Fantastic.
Well done. A great way to finish. Kieran, David, Dimitri, thank you very much. As I said, finishing on a high there with painting a picture of an exit. But I'll go back to the 3 T's at the very beginning. I really do think this is a top percentile opportunity for Spark investors. And it is that, you know, one of those T's is track record. This team have exited before very successfully, and it's in the same technology, that other T, in terms of there's a basis there in UWB, both on the hardware and now on the software side. And the other bit, of course, is this traction in market. You know, the networks that the guys have and the team have, it's a huge plus. The go-to market plan is there, the pipeline is there, the revenue is already there. So look, we're in good shape. The campaign still has a number of days to go, but as Kieran alluded to, there is a ceiling at some point. But we are open to take on more funding. As I said, we've gone through the funding target, but you know, I wouldn't hang around too long, because we are, as I said, there's a large number of people on this call, and there have been some big checks written in the last 6-7 days, so things can move quite quickly. So I'll leave on that very ambitious note. But again, thanks to the team, and thank you everybody for listening in today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.